Good morning and welcome to my channel. My name is Shoshana and I am a guide to life. I help people navigate through the spiritual awakening. And I want to talk a little bit about the spiritual work that we do, what the spiritual work that we do is. And this is coming after a session that I had yesterday with a beautiful woman that is multi-talented in many different ways and has an enormous amount of energy flowing through her. And there were a few things that came up during the session that I think would be beneficiary for all of us on this process. And the question was, am I doing the work properly? And what she's finding is that she has a lot of noise, and um, and that when she has these emotions come up, she knows that if she allows herself to go into those places, it's going to take her so deep, it, and it will put her out of commission for a few days. So she just pushes it off to the side because she can't allow herself to go into those places, because life is still happening. She has to function in life, right? But that is what is holding you in this place of not knowing what to do and having that constant noise and that constant pressure. Because during the spiritual awakening, your inner self is leading you to the work that you need to do. And then when you're trying to think, well, what do I need to do? What do I need to do? It is your ego self, right? Not a bad thing, but your ego self trying to control the spiritual awakening, which means that it's not relinquishing the control. It's trying to hold on and trying to contain and trying to um, not lose control, like not feel lost. And when you have those big swooping emotions coming up and wanting to surface, and you're trying to hold on because I just can't deal with this right now, you're actually holding yourself in that place of not knowing, in that place that is separate from yourself. And if you see it as your higher self leading you to what needs to be done next during this process, right? It's always letting go and relinquishing that control. So if you can see it as, okay, this is a sign that right now this is the next step on my spiritual awakening, no matter how uncomfortable it is, no matter how inconvenient it is, because it's always going to be inconvenient in the beginning. Afterwards, you'll start seeing the wisdom in it, and you'll start trusting that process, that it is actually taking you to where you need to be at the right time to process the emotions that now you are capable of processing. And as you go through it, so let's say something comes up, this big swooping emotion and this pain, and you're like, well, I can't deal with this now. So you kind of put it off to the side and you keep on trying to hold on to your life. You're holding yourself apart. You're holding yourself in that place of noise and in that place of shaking, I call it. It's when your mind is going all over the place and you don't know what to do and you kind of feel like you're out of control, and then you feel like you have to hold on even stronger, when in actuality it's the exact opposite. You need to relinquish control. You need to let go of control. And when those emotions come up that are calling you into that deeper, into going into that deep dive, and even if it takes you out of commission for 3 days, first of all, what is out of commission? That you go into yourself and be sad and that you're dealing with those deep emotions. You can still do the motions, even, and even if it does take you into your bed for 3 days where you can't move. What is 3 days in and when you take it in perspective of a lifetime, right? Because when you go into those deep emotions for 3 days and you deal with them, and you just allow those emotions, even intensify those emotions, because once you start doing the work on the spiritual awakening and you start allowing yourself to do the work, you start finding the patterns in it. You start finding how the work is done, and it becomes easier. It becomes you know where you're headed, and you know that there is going to be this massive relief and release at the end of each one of these episodes. And not only massive relief and release, this intense elation, this, and you feel so much lighter and everything becomes so much clearer too. So if you go through one of these purges for 3 or 4 days or however long it takes you, right? Because in the beginning we get tossed into this dark night of the soul, and that could last even months. And when you start coming up from those dark nights of the soul, and even on the little ones, the little 3 day ones, and they become shorter and shorter and shorter, and deeper and deeper and deeper, right? Because it's like you're peeling away layers. Whenever you become at a level of expansion that you are capable of handling whatever emotions are coming up, which are emotions that you have closed off from your childhood, right? You're slowly peeling back time as well. You're slowly going back in childhood, because when you were born this open. Your heart was wide open, and things happened that hurt you, and you closed it until you are hardening your heart. And as we go through the spiritual awakening, we are becoming strong enough to open our emotions back up to where we can fully experience life at the maximum level of emotion and not be afraid of being hurt, because we can deal with those emotions. So we're slowly opening ourselves up. And what also came up in this conversation yesterday, and something that I've also experienced in myself, is that the further along I go in this, during the spiritual awakening, emotions that I haven't felt from early childhood all of a sudden are available to me. They pop up, and it's like, whoa, along with a memory of when I felt that. And it was like early childhood, when I was 4 years old or 3 years old, and going back even further to being in the crib, having memories, because the emotion, it's just like when you smell something and it'll take you back in time. It's the same thing. This emotion now that is open to you, because you have expanded, because your heart is opening, because you are now capable of feeling these emotions without being afraid of them, and they're available to you now in your toolbox of emotions, means you've expanded. You're allowing your true self to flow through you, right? Because it's the ego that closes the heart. It's the ego and the ego is not a bad thing. It's your container, it's your vessel, it's what is allowing you to even have this life experience of personality, speech, memories. Otherwise, you would just be this pure energy consciousness without any kind of container to grasp and allow expression through you or to you. So, experience. So ego is a wonderful thing. It's your master tool. Whenever I say ego, I'm not saying it in a bad context. I'm saying it as a matter of factly. You have this ego container that in the illusion, you think that you are it. That's why when we go to school, they train our minds. They put information in our minds, and we think that we are our minds, but we're not our minds. Our mind is one of our tools that we get to use during this life experience. So it's like a master tool. It's one of those massive tools that we get, that is a given. It's a gift. And we get to choose how we use it. We get to choose our perspective. We get to choose. And it's such a magnificent tool that it can be trained. It's malleable. It's always moving and malleable. We get to train it. If a lot of times we're conditioned into not knowing that we're able to train it, and then we lose the capacity from the conditioning in our childhood, which is a sad thing. That during the spiritual awakening, we're realizing, wait, there's so much more to this, and we have been graced. And um, I'm at a loss of words. I'm not going to it. So we are graced with this experience. We are privileged. That is the word. We are privileged to be in an awakening state and being able to know this consciously. We're peeling back our subconscious to expose ourselves to ourselves. And so getting back to the point that I want to make, is that your higher self is leading you. It is leading you constantly and consistently to the next step. It is our responsibility to relinquish that control, to let go and follow. So when you have this draw to go inward into these deep emotions, go. That is your calling. It will lead you, even if it's inappropriate right now, that I can't leave my life right now and go into this hole with my pain right now. That is the illusion. Because if you go, because if you don't go, it's going to be there under the surface, nagging at you. And not only nagging at you, you're blind to it because you don't even know what it's telling you. You're avoiding it. There's so much energy in that avoidance. And it is leading you, it is controlling you from underneath because it is creating all of these avoidant behaviors that you have been using, all of these different constructs of behavior in avoidance of feeling whatever it is that it wants to make you feel or allow you to feel. So you can either go down with it in the hole for 3 days, or you can spend another 2 months holding against it, and then in the end, it's going to take you anyway. In the end, you will not be able to resist it because you can't. Your higher self, especially when you have enormous energies and powers wanting to get expression through you, and you're thinking that I'm this ego mind and I have to hold everything up, you're also kind of getting lost because it's the container crying. It's the tail trying to wag the dog, right? It's the tail saying, I'm wagging, I know how to do this. I'm not gonna go into the higher consciousness, the higher knowing. And so it's going to be a constant holding. It's going to feel very tense. And when you don't allow that to be expressed through you, it's going to be pushed down into your body, which your body is a physical expression, a manifested expression of whatever your soul is that is in perfect harmony with your soul. And if you are not expressing, not allowing, you're holding yourself tight because of conditioning, because of beliefs that we have created when we were children, according to all sorts of traumas or societal conditioning. And so we're holding ourselves back. It's always insecurity. It's always in unworthiness and feeling that if I do allow my true self to come out and shine, then I'm going to be unaccepted. And that's also a falsity because my kids are getting ready for school. That's also a falsity because when you come out and you shine your light bright in authenticity, that is magnetic because everyone inside wants to be in that expression, wants to be their authentic self, and wants to break free of the shackles of their own minds. And a lot of times we are taught to believe something through traumas. We're taught to believe something limiting about ourselves. And after whoever it is that created that belief is out of your life, we continue to put ourselves in that lower state of being. And for instance, a teacher says something to you that belittles you, and then you create this belief that you're not enough or you're embarrassed of who you are. And then that teacher is out of your life already, but you're continuing to believe that and to take that on as your own belief. And so then it becomes part of your own shackles, part of what is holding you back from your full expression. And another point on this is, so I want to close this off. So when you have those callings to go deep, dive deep, because you can go deep for 3 days and it will release you for the rest of your life. Whereas if you're holding, you can hold that for the rest of your life and it's under the surface anyway, controlling you. It never really goes away until you process it and understand what it is. And the acknowledgement of it in itself. So you go into these deep emotions and it starts releasing. First of all, the emotion, you can enhance it, and it'll start releasing memories and emotions from early childhood. It'll start releasing itself just in the acknowledgement, just in facing it and turning around and going, okay, I'm dealing with you. it will release it in itself because it is a false fear. It's in the background, it's in your subconscious. You're not really looking at it. And once you turn around and look at it and face it, it dissolves because it is a false, because you are divine. And in the end, you will see what you, when you follow it, you start breaking it apart and start looking at it and saying, okay, why am I feeling this way? What is that belief? Because it is always going to lead you. Those big swooping emotions of pain are always going to lead you back down to a place where you feel inadequate and you feel unworthy. And when you start breaking it apart, you always have the answer. And you just take it as far as back as you can and trust that the answers will come. So even if you don't get all the way back to unworthiness, know that it is there. And at the very source of it, it is me unaccepting me. It is me out of alignment with me, not knowing how divine I am and the magnificent being that I am. And usually when you quit putting your face this way and not looking at it, and you turn around and you look at it, it dissolves in itself. So the quicker that you surrender into it, the quicker the answers come for you. And another part of this is the question, well, what is my purpose? What is my purpose? I need to be doing something. I need to be doing something. And that is the ego mind. I need to be doing something. As you follow and trust the path, as these big emotions come in and you go, okay, I'm going to deal with you. And then you go in and you deal and you release it. And then you're elated. You come into a higher state of consciousness. All of a sudden you have this much more clarity. And then you're up on this in your higher self again. And then as you go through life, you're stimulated by life. You're touching all sorts of situations and triggered. All of your old belief systems are triggered, and you can trust that wherever you are out of alignment, you will get opportunity after opportunity after opportunity to do the healing. So even if you miss an opportunity, you don't have to beat yourself up over it, because it will present itself again, because as long as you're out of alignment, it will have to present itself again. So you're always going to have those opportunities to do the healing. So you'll be up in this elated state. You'll be going through life. You'll be stimulated. You'll hit up against a wall and you'll be thrown back down. If you're holding yourself, I'm not going down there. I'm not going down there because I have to produce. I have to do. And I have to contain myself. That is counterproductive. And in that place, you're also beating yourself up, and you're also not really knowing what to do, because that is the ego thinking that it is having to control. So it's the container, it's the tail trying to wag the dog. Whereas your soul is showing you, this is the next step. Go in with me. You don't have to know where you're going, because as you go in and you release that pain is burning through your falsities, burning through your false beliefs. As you go in and burn through that pain, it is going to be revealing more and more layers of yourself to yourself. You're going to be coming more and more into alignment with your true self. And as you come into alignment, you relinquish control, right? But it's a balance, right? Because you still have your life that you're living and you have to live. So it's a balance. And know that everything is okay. Just be easy with yourself. Be soft on yourself. Be compassionate, and have mercy and compassion for yourself. Really treat yourself like your own child, and be easy on yourself. Easy peasy. And as you go through these layers, you go deeper and deeper and deeper, and you start resolving these core wounds. You come back to your divine self, your centered self, your aligned self, your true self. Whatever wants to flow through you will begin to form shape. And more as you go along this path, you will start seeing more and more that you're coming into expression, because it will have to. When you clear out all the impurities, all that is left is you. And at some point, whatever is you, first of all, you've cleared out the insecurities. So whatever is you feels more free to fly through you and flow through you and get expression, just like these videos. This is turn on the video. I have a subject to talk about, and I trust in the divine that it is going to flow through me, because that is the essence of what am meant to do. It is expression of what I have already gone through. It is what I can see. I can see it energetically. So I don't have a worry. Is it going to come through, or is it not going to come through? I trust that how it comes through is exactly how it needs to come through, and exactly how it will be perceived, because it's authentic, because it is coming from a place of natural flow. And as you purify yourself, and as you take away all of these falsities and all the holding on and trying to control, whatever wants to flow through you will flow through you in as a natural state of your being, and you will trust in that and know. So I was telling my mother, I told my mother that I do sessions and advise, and she said, well, do you know what the subject is going to be before? And I said, no, usually not. Most of the time, not. And I could see that that kind of hit her as like, well, how do you get ready for it? And when you can trust that to be there, there is no getting ready for it, because every single person is individual, and every single person is going through this in a little bit of a different aspect. And when you purify yourself and clear out yourself, and you're connected, and your heart is in the right place, and you are doing it um, for the correction, or for love, and for wanting to see others uh, 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 in elated state, and in their full capacity, and for humanity, and for healing, then you can always trust that it is going to be there. There's nothing to prepare for, because it's simple. When you are connected to the divine, and all of that divine intelligence is available and at your fingertips. It's like you are connected to the fountain of knowledge. It's kind of like eating from the tree of knowledge. So when we're born, we are born naturally that way. We get closed off. We start getting into ego. We're conditioned in school to be by this narrow little path. And then as we go in through this, as we start losing, he's like going in a spaceship, and the spaceship is off course, and you're trying to hold it all together, and you're thinking that you have to do it. And then at some point, you start going through the spiritual awakening, and you start losing all of those layers, and you come back into that pure state. Only you have all of the experience, everything that you've learned, all of your knowledge that you already have becomes your toolbox. And all of the traumas that you've gone through becomes your knowledge and toolbox, and your tools to use for healing. So when you have this enormous light flowing through you, you don't have to constantly think, how am I going to use it? What am I going to do with it? All your job is the internal work, purifying yourself. And you can trust that your soul is leading you down the quickest path if you allow. It's always in surrender and allow yourself to be led. And when you're led through your impurities, to clear that all out and to purify all that. And there is pain in that, because you're losing yourself, and there is mind warping. Your mind is going to feel like it's being warped, like, whoa, you're going into twilight. So you may even begin to have um, visions and connections to other realms, and memories of past lives, and memories of early childhood as you go through this. And your soul is getting you ready to allow it to flow through you purely. And when that comes, you'll be divinely led. You won't have to think about it or control it. So you can just trust in the process. So I'm sending you guys so much love. Thank you for being with me. And if you want a one-on-one session with me, my contact information is below. Thank you for watching.